Guys, I just completed a 5-month inpatient program at Treehouse Recovery here in Portland, Oregon to address alcoholism. Mine, more specifically. And it was a really, really good experience, and it was a very tough experience, and it was a very rewarding and helpful experience. It has left me, though, in a familiar space, which is I completed rehab. That was my 3rd time, and now I have a lot of real fears to contend with. And so in this video, we're going to talk about my biggest fear now that rehab is over. All right, guys, first and foremost, I do want to give myself a little acknowledgement. Good work, you. I did a really good thing in going to rehab for the 3rd time, and that was not an easy decision. I want to say that if you're watching this video and you are struggling right now, mentally, emotionally, physically, if you are struggling with addiction the way that I have in the past, know that you're worth it. You're not alone. There's help waiting for you. There are resources available to you, and you should reach out that hand and get that help. You definitely deserve it. I certainly believe that I deserve it, and I'm worthy of it, and I think you are too. And if you're doing well, that's great. I'm really happy to hear that also, and I hope you're finding ways to be helpful to other people. What is the biggest fear? Getting out of rehab, there's no real spoiler here. It's that I'll relapse, right? It's that I'll drink again. Having been to rehab multiple times and not stayed sober, you can easily see why that fear would be a valid one for me. When I was 13 years old, I drank for the first time. I had a white light response to it. It was the single greatest moment of my life up until that point, and I have been chasing that freedom in my own skin, that euphoria, ever since. I've gotten in tons of trouble in every way that someone can get in trouble when it comes to being addicted to a substance. Physical issues, mental issues, emotional issues, monetary issues, relationship issues, professional issues, self-esteem issues. When I first started drinking, I did have fun. Somewhere in there, the fun started coming with very real and tangible consequences. First externally, such as getting in trouble with the law, but then internally. And then towards the end of my drinking, as I very, very clearly documented on this channel, it wasn't fun anymore. It was just problems, and they were very real problems. They were very serious problems. My ability to function was dwindling down to just about nothing. And so I did a really brave thing, and I asked for help, which I've done a lot. And that's tough on the self-esteem to continue to struggle with something for so many years and then ask for help again. So I'm really, really proud of myself for that. I do think it's a big deal. I do think it's something worth highlighting because there might be someone watching right now who's kind of tapped out, who's tired of waving the white flag, perhaps, because so many people have been there for them in the past when they waved the white flag, and then have also had to experience or observe them go back into dangerous, detrimental behaviors. That was my experience. So when I came to Treehouse Recovery, and I'm swagged out right now because I just love this place. But when I got there, I was very broken. I was very, very tired. I was very sad. I was in a bad place. That was early October. Let's just say that I came in one way and I checked out a different way. This past Monday, that was my last day. So many things I learned. But now that I've completed rehab, what do I do? And what is my greatest fear? Well, it's that I might relapse. And what am I doing to mitigate that? How am I leveraging that fear in a really healthy way, in a way that's going to mobilize me and keep me on the right path? Luckily, I have insight. I can look back at what has gone on in the past in terms of getting sober, and certainly specifically in terms of what I did right after rehab, and see what might need some tweaking. I was told very clearly that the next few months, now that I'm out of rehab, are very, very important. This is when no one's looking. I'm left to take my disease of addiction serious or not. I can fall into old behaviors, or I can choose a different path. And I did something really, really smart to mitigate that fear. I signed up for a class. It's an online class with an instructor, with other members in the class, to go over this book. This is Knowing How, 20 Concepts to Rewire the Brain by Julie Valenti, Lasting Recovery from PTSD Due to Childhood and Trauma. It's a book study, and it's something that I had a little bit of chance to get into in treatment. Billy Grande, the clinical director and lead therapist at Treehouse Recovery, pushed me through these steps pretty fast, and now I'm going to deep dive it. So I do that every Monday for 2 hours, and I'm really happy and I'm really pleased with myself for making the decision to take that suggestion. Billy's like, why don't you jump in this book study and implement it right away? And it's going to be like a bridge for me. Something that Billy said to us, the clinical director again, who also led our addiction education curriculum, which was brilliant and mind-boggling. He said that learning a lot of things about sobriety, learning a lot of things about how my brain works as an addict or an alcoholic, learning about trauma, learning about addiction in general. It was good, but it wasn't enough to keep me sober. I took that to heart. And the message there is that you have to keep the wiring firing for what you're learning, and you have to implement the things you're learning in order for it to stick, in order for it to have a lasting effect in sobriety. And that's something I haven't done very well in the past. That's my healthy response to fear. Do more to protect your sobriety. As far as Treehouse is concerned, and this is something really, really cool about Treehouse, but once you're an alumni, you have access to Treehouse, its community, its resources for life. So I get to go back as an alumni and take a group. And I think Thursdays is going to be my day, and check in and be accountable and continue to fire that new wiring, continue to challenge my thoughts, make sure I'm being open and honest about my experiences, because transition is hard. And that's what I'm in right now. Something that I need to be mindful of is how am I experiencing my new life now that I don't have that structure and that routine. So I'll be doing groups every Thursday. I'll be doing alumni groups every Sunday. I'm also working with my sponsor in a traditional 12-step capacity. I have frequent contact with him, which is good. I've also taken on a service position in that 12-step program every Friday. I think it'll end up being every other Friday, which is also very, very good. That's how I'm addressing my deepest fear. Relapse is a very predictable process. It's something that I was confused about in the past. It is not by accident that I have relapsed historically. There were things I didn't understand about my wiring and my attachment style as a child when dealing with trauma. I was raised by wonderful people who were struggling with their own addiction. My mom was a drug addict. She's now in recovery. My dad was an alcoholic. He's now in recovery. But as a kid, they raised me, and that led to certain developmental issues that were just well outside of my control. But it's something I have to address and make peace with and understand now as an adult if I'm ever going to move forward from these cyclical, repetitive behaviors that have led to just disastrous things in my life with my addiction. I have a good plan in place. There is still that part of my brain, as I have so many years of reinforcing this thinking that a drink sounds good, but it will not solve or fix anything for me. And I know it's very, very important, particularly in these first couple of years, to just really, really grab my recovery by the horns and hold on tight and continue to work hard, and just to be gentle and be patient, be action driven, act my way into better thinking, take my feet where my brain will soon follow, things like that. I do still work out 5-6 days a week in the evening. I have a very busy, full life. I'm engaging socially as much as possible, and I have a lot more I could share. But I think this is a really good jumping off place. I think this is a good place to start. So thank you for spending some time with me. Hit me up in the comment sections. Let me know what's going on for you. If you're local to the Portland metropolitan area here in Portland, Oregon, consider checking out Treehouse Recovery Portland if addiction is something you're struggling with and you're ready to get help. It saved my life. It was a big commitment, but it saved my life. It was a big deal. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next video, and I appreciate you. Thank you. Adios.